Joining me now, David Webb, host of The David Webb Show on SiriusXM Patriot and co-founder of Tea Party 365, and Mark Hanna, who's a former aide to the John Kerry and Barack Obama presidential campaigns and a political analyst. So now we know that Elizabeth Warren will have a featured role at the Democratic National Convention. There had been speculation she would be the keynote speaker. She's not the keynote speaker. Some said, oh, this is punishment not being the keynote speaker because she made these controversial remarks, or controversial, by some. Some people love these remarks. Others say this is madness by the Obama campaign, who's been trying to get people off of this "you didn't build that," meme, and onto other things to put somebody who's so famous for that meme in a featured role at the DNC at the convention. What say you, David?
Well, who's surprised here? I've followed Elizabeth Warren for years. She is pretty much a Marxist in what she preaches and believes. And by the way, I've got an example here of the last thing that worked. Soviet Army Watch, built by Gruen in America because they outsourced it. She's comparing apples to oranges when she says communist China is the model.
Do you think it is a wise political move to put her in this featured role when the campaign's trying to say they were taken out of context and sort of move on from that controversy?
Actually, yes. And this is why, because this is not intended for myself, the independents, and those that wouldn't vote for Obama or might be questioning. They need to shore up their base. And in order to do that, the progressives, not the Democrats or the traditional Kennedy Democrats or Truman Democrats, they need to play to the progressives and the subsets who they want to stay in line for the vote, because this is an election on the margins, and it's on the economy.
But because it's on the margins, Mark, we've been talking on the show for a while now about how, he's probably going to get the progressives. They're probably not going to vote for Mitt Romney. Doesn't he need to get the independents, many of whom didn't like that "you build that" argument?
David mentioned Kennedy and the Kennedy Democrats. The Kennedy Democrats were all in favor of this sort of rising tide lifts all boats argument. To come out and say that Elizabeth Warren, by saying we should be collectively responsible on some level for our prosperity in this country and that we owe each other a debt of service, and that is somehow a communist platform, shows a gross misunderstanding of both communism and the Democratic platform.
But
and there are people who have lived under.
Wait. But so then is this a chance for Elizabeth Warren to rehabilitate Barack Obama?
She
an
doesn't
argument
need to.
he did not necessarily articulate as well as she did.
No, I don't think anybody needs to rehabilitate anybody. I think this is going to be an interesting part of the debates between Romney and Obama. I think there is a massive philosophical difference of opinion here in how a capitalist economy should be run. No less than the godfather of capitalism himself, Adam Smith, said that government's role has three roles. It has protecting for the national defense, it has promoting a system of justice, and also public works like bridges, roads, things that a private enterprise can't do on its own. So that's to say that this is somehow not a capitalist argument.
Actually,
go ahead, David.
The problem here is we ignore the economics, and economics is where it really matters. Those roads, those bridges, the machines that are used to build them, they weren't invented and owned by the government. Those are built by private corporations. It's private capital. It's taxpayer dollars that pays for the government. The government doesn't have money. It has taxpayers.
It doesn't pay for the government. It pays for private workers who are our neighbors who are going out to build these roads.
Let me finish my point.
Okay, go ahead.
She talks about the legacy of taxpayer dollars, of government dollars. Well, there was someone who started that chain, and it came from revenue that was generated by private capital. Government's role. There are no marauding bands of Goths and Visigoths coming to the gates of factories. So the bottom line is it comes from private capital and it moves forward.
It comes from private capital, but government has a role in order to enable a system that promotes prosperity, where these capitalists can make money. They have an environment in which they don't have to worry about, security. They have a workforce that's educated through a public education system in this country.
Which we pay for, Mark.
Which we all pay for as taxpayers. And when did paying taxes become a penalty and not part of our civic obligation?
The question is how much in taxes, and the president was using this argument to justify that the so-called rich over $200,000 need to pay more.
Right.
I got to leave it at that because
exactly.
we are 10 in time today. Guys, thank you both so much.